Buck, let's get right into it. With Evans playing in the Lemon Street Classic against what I call the famous Norcross, it brings to mind, people are talking about history being made or one of the biggest games in Augusta area history. It brings to mind the 2014 Laney squad that you were the head coach of. You played these kinds of games repeatedly throughout the season, won these kinds of games repeatedly throughout the season. I'll just give a few results before we start. You started off against St. Francis, which by my count had two players who are now in the NBA. You lost 67-64, but from there you won 29 straight games, including games against Norcross, 70-59, against Pebblebrook, which has an NBA player, which had a future NBA player in Jared Harper. You beat them 65-59. You beat Lanier, the same team that Evans was able to beat yesterday. You beat them 81-52. You beat Berkmar 59-52. You beat Morgan County twice with, a guy many people know, Tukey Brown. You beat them twice before they upset you in the semifinals of the state playoffs. Sorry to mention that, Buck.
No problem.
And then you also beat Jenkins 60-49, who was, if I'm not mistaken, the eventual state champs that year, and beating Morgan County in the championship game. So you've been here and you've done that. You know Coach Kenny well. I'm pretty sure you even know the Evans players to some extent. What if you were to give some advice to Coach Kenny, or if you were to just reflect on your time when you would take an Augusta team down the road, and as I put it in a tweet 7 years ago, I think I said something like Laney doesn't do anything but go to Atlanta on the weekends and bust the heads of the best teams in the state. I think I said that after you beat Norcross. What kind of advice do you have? And let's reflect on that kind of historic season.
Well, I think that first and foremost, he has the players that believe they can go up there and win, and that's the first thing they got to believe, that they can go up there and win. They can't think for 1 second that they're not good enough to play on that level or in that type of atmosphere or on that platform. Watching from afar, looking at the highlights, I think he has some dynamic guards, and you need guards to play at that level. They score a lot of points, and I think they're doing a pretty good job of defending and rebounding. So, Norcross would be a very formidable opponent for them. But with the guys that Kenny has this year, I think he's got a chance to be really, really good. Now, it's funny that you mentioned that, and I saw what Greg Williams said, something about Evans and Norcross playing is probably one of the top games that he can ever remember. Which is crazy to me, because that just shows me that grown men are very petty. Because if I'm not mistaken, Grovetown just played Miller Grove last night, right?
They sure did. The famous Miller Grove.
Now, Miller Grove has won like 5 or 6 championships.
Yeah, they've got I think a state championship, one championship for every 2 years in existence.
So to me, and this is my opinion, and
sure.
Miller Grove is like when you start talking about basketball in the state of Georgia, you mention Miller Grove and everybody knows, they're going to know Norcross because they produced some players. But what Miller Grove has done, and I'm sitting there looking at, okay, well, Grovetown just played Miller Grove. Wouldn't that game count for being like one of the top in a few years, So that's crazy to me that somebody can skip over what Grovetown has done with the team that he has, and he's playing Miller Grove, and he's going to turn around and play somebody else. And, he's going to play Heritage, who I saw who's very good.
Yes.
So, but, Evans, going back to Evans, I think he's doing a good job about going and playing these type of games. That's going to set him up for when he gets into the state. So he'll be able to – it won't be like he hadn't seen anything, because he's going to see different types of defenses. He's going to see different types of sizes and how they're going to use players and stuff like that, and what he's got to prepare for. But Norcross, they've got a good team this year. I don't think they're the best team in the state of Georgia. I don't even know if they're in the top 10, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But they are very talented, and I think Evans might be in the top 5.
That says a lot, and they are certainly talented in that way. Now, you mentioned guard play and that being important. That brings to mind that Laney squad that you had. The team had 4 players who went on to be, or 3 players who went on to be all-conference college players, and then Zep Jasper being the 4th, maybe the best out of the 4, who knows. He is a starter for College of Charleston now. So you've got Zep, then you've got Jay Sean Brooks, who had a great career at Augusta University, and then eventually Mars Hill. You had Christian Keeling, who was an all-league player since stepping into a Division One team in Charleston Southern, and then finished up as a Tar Heel at UNC. And then also Jalen Taylor, who was a all-Peach Belt performer at Clayton State. But let me think, 3 of those guys are guards.
Right.
And that's what you took to Atlanta, and that's what you, like I said, busted heads in Atlanta with. So talk about those guys and, why great guard play can neutralize whether it be size or prestige or whatever you run into when you play the best teams from a big place like Atlanta.
Because guards going to dictate the tempo of the game. They're going to control the tempo of the game. It all starts with your guards. If you don't have guards, they have that turning that ball over. And I can tell you this year, man, because I'm so young, and we're having a turnover issue right now, but we're going to be fine because my kids just hadn't got that to that point yet where they got enough hours up on them playing. But Zep, Christian, Jay Sean, Jalen Taylor, Colin Young, those guys were basketball junkies, man. They had something to prove. And after we won, 25 in a row, they came to practice every day and still laid on the line. And I'm like, man, we're not going long today. And they'd be mad at me because, they want to practice. But I'm sitting there saying, we got 3 games this week. I got to get your legs, the way we're playing. But, we were pretty deep, and you mentioned guys, and I can mention guys that like Tommy Smith and Taquan Wilson, those guys are huge in what we were doing. And had I been a better coach, I would have got those guys a state championship ring. But, hats off to those guys, man. And it's funny that you're talking to me right now because I just finished watching our game against Pebblebrook.
Okay. Tell me about that. I remember that well, but tell us about it. And
I'm just sitting there going back because I like to go back and watch and see, if there's anything that I was doing then that I need to do now, or just trying to learn as a coach. But, one of the things that, those guys are players, man. Jalen Taylor, he picks up a loose ball and he goes down and dunks on that big kid, Derek or whatever. That's a basketball play. Colin making shots, Zelps making shots, and Jay Sean didn't play particularly well. But yet still, they got 4 Division I high major players over there. And they got Jared Harper, who goes to Auburn, who's kicking everybody's butt, who's in the NBA right now, and he was a handful. But, that team was 22nd in the nation. And little old AAA Laney, we go on the road and we beat them in a neutral atmosphere. Granted, now we played them the year before in the Christmas tournament, and they beat us by 2 or whatever. But, Zep remembered that. He remembered Ty Hudson getting the best of him that game.
So I wonder, will you be, you mentioned watching that game. I know how you watched it. You watched it on YouTube from SUV TV.
That's correct.
You were all over that network during that season with these historic wins. And, I bet I know I will be watching SUV TV tomorrow to see Evans. And, you don't know the Evans players specifically, and we're not, I'm not trying to dive into their specific brains, but for them to go and do what Zep did, what Christian did, take that, like you said, he took it personally that people talked about Jared Harper and Ty Hudson and those Pebblebrook guys, and they took it personally and they went and kicked their butts. That's not a common thing. Everybody wants to go do that. Everybody plans to go do that. But, how rare is that to actually go put that into action and walk away with a win? You walked away with, 8 of them that year in those kinds of games. What kind of special stuff will the Evans players need to be made of to get that done tomorrow?
I think, mentally, they're not going to sneak up on nobody right now. because they just put 84 points on Lanier. So that coach at Norcross, he does his job now. He's gonna pay attention and he's gonna make sure they're ready defensively. And I think going into that game, I think Evans needs to be ready to play against some zone.
Okay.
And they got to make some shots, and they got to be able to get that ball into those gaps and stuff like that. Because Jesse's known to play some zone, and it's going to be a funky matchup zone and stuff like that. Because he's always had size, and he's got good guards this year. I think the year we played him, Rayshawn Hammonds was 6'8", 6'9", and Lance Thomas was 6'10", and he had 6'6". No, but he's always had size. But I think their guards, they got to prepare to play against zone, and they got to be ready to make shots. And mentally, I think they just if they prepare tonight for what they need to do tomorrow, then they'll be just fine. You just can't show up and beat a team like Norcross.
That's true. That's true. Man, what a tournament over there. You got Norcross and Evans, kind of an underdog versus a mainstay in the I guess that would be I can't remember which game it is, but the other, whether it's the final game or the next to final game, but then the other semifinals, Buck, you've got McEachern against who are they playing? Miller Grove. McEachern against Miller Grove. Man, what a tournament. What a tournament. And then all this talk about great guard play, let's end it with this. Me talking to you about great guard play and people from Augusta going all over Atlanta and the country, putting their stamp on the basketball world, I can't help but go back to the 90s when you coached the two best guards that anybody has ever seen in these parts play together at the same time, Ricky Moore and Vonteego Cummings. What a tandem. Ricky Moore from Westside went on to win the national championship as a point guard for UConn against his street mate, his childhood friend Will Avery on the other end for Duke. So Ricky is one guard. Vonteego Cummings from Thompson, who played at Pitt, played in the NBA, first-round draft pick. Those two guys were your guards for the Augusta Metro AAU team. What people to this day who remember it call that the very first AAU team to ever come from these parts. We went all the way to the national championship game, what today is like the Peach Jam.
Right.
The AAU Nationals went all the way to the national championship game, got beaten double overtime on a kind of a fluke play at the end. But, you talk about guards. Let's end it with those two and that Augusta Metro experience. And, that'll give everybody a real good feel for how long you've been, I'd say, putting Augusta on the map when we go back to the early 90s.
Well, those guys, and yourself included, Chad, that was a hell of a program. That got, I think that helped start to put Augusta on the map and possibly get the Peach Jam to come to Augusta with Clint Bryant. But, with Ricky and Vonteego and yourself, and, we just had guys that played basketball, man, and Antonio Grant. We put some guys out there now. And but Ricky, Ricky's always been my guy, and getting Vonteego to come on board and play it. And it wasn't about, who's going to play the point and who's going to do this, man, and I told him, I don't care who does. But Ricky was a distributor, Vonteego was a scorer, and vice versa. Ricky wanted to win, and Vonteego wanted to win, and he did everything we needed to win. And we had you out there making shots, and, we had Brad rebounding, and, Antonio Grant playing. So, it's a guards game. If you got a big, he's going to be a special big. But right now, you look at Kevin Durant. He's a 7-footer. He ain't a big. He's a guard. He's a guard, man.
Yeah.
He's a guard. So, you got to have guards, to play this game of basketball. And if you got a big, who's going to get him the ball? You got to have a guard to get him the ball. But you just jogged some memories, man, and I'm grinning from ear to ear.
Me too.
Because those are some hell of a times, man, and I appreciate it. I really do, man.
I'm grinning from ear to ear too. You know, we could go on for hours about that subject. And, you know, just one random thought that came through my mind when we were talking and you were naming players. You know, a guy like Ronnie Striegels, you know, Bebe. Yeah. Ronnie Striegels was such a great player for Richmond.
That's
he came off the bench for our team, and now here it is, 27 years later, and his son, who has the same name, Ronnie Striegels, is the guy every time Butler jumps ball. I see all over social media people saying that Ronnie Striegels, they call him Nuke, is pound for pound the best guard in the state. So the beat goes on when it comes to Augusta and guards. And like I said earlier, a lot of it, you know, began with you. I always say that whether it be Augusta University pickup games or Augusta Metro practices where basically our practice consisted of us lacing them up, you and Keenan Mann and some other college guys or maybe some pro guys getting on the other side, and we played pickup for about 2 hours, and you guys probably cussed us out and, you know, threw us all over the place, and that's how we learned to play ball. And, you know, I see traces of that to this day when it comes to guys like Ronnie Striegels or even the Evans guys or Darren Douglas at Grovetown has kind of taken on that mantle that you started. He always mentions you as a mentor. And so thanks for all the impact you've had on this, and I hope people enjoy this recent Augusta history, actually long-time Augusta history lesson from Buck Harris.
Well, I appreciate you having me, Chad, and I wish Evans nothing but the best tomorrow, and I hope that, you know, if I don't have a game and when Evans in Grovetown, because that is a game that I definitely want to see, somebody should live stream that game as well.
No doubt about it. We'll make that happen. If for no other reason than so you can see it from a couple hours away, we're going to make that happen. And I agree, that is the matchup of the year when that comes around in about, I guess, a month.
Yeah.
Region play. Yeah. All right, Buck. Thanks for being with us, and good luck staying healthy, you and the team. And, you know, we'll find a way to keep up with Jones County as well as region play heats up.
Thanks for having me, Chad. Good luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
All right.